So a lot of the people, so a lot of the people who are your subordinate ranks are probably senior to you in experience and years. So it was a case of rolling up the sleeves, learning. So the first thing that I learned as a leader.
Want to try and go pee?
So the first thing that I learned as a leader is seek first to understand what's going on around you and then be understood. So one of the things that comes from experience are dysfunctional beliefs. And I'm sure that some people here might even identify with the dysfunctional belief of, I can't do it, I'm not good enough, or something like that. So this negative self-talk that we tell ourselves about being a leader or not being a leader is quite damaging. Your staff are always looking at you. You are the leader. And so therefore, it's my opinion that an effective and an efficient leader is all about traits, personality traits, and behaviors. We talk about, being effective and efficient in business, but what about our behaviors that we are displaying and offering to people who report to us?
So, all right, there was a lot. Dysfunctional beliefs. Okay. Is that the same as imposter syndrome, or are you angling towards something else? Is there a difference there? Because, and again, I'm laying myself out here like I always do. I suffer from imposter syndrome a lot. And I think I probably have some dysfunctional beliefs. One of them is Ryan Baum is a friend of mine. That's a dysfunctional belief. Okay. But in reality though, is there a difference between those two? Or are we kind of talking the same thing?
It's hard when Joe puts dysfunctional into anything.
Go ahead.
I think we're talking about the same thing, because
it is the same thing.
I remember doing a leadership course for an investment bank in Salzburg in Austria, and I've got these two 20-something-year-old university graduates in front of me, and they had been promoted to leadership positions. They were already in the position. Now, can you imagine going into a position of responsibility as a leader? People are looking to you to lead them, to lead the department, and you don't know what you're doing. For me, that is a classic example of imposter syndrome. And I think, well, not that I think, I know that imposter syndrome feeds and highlights the dysfunctional beliefs of, I think what the most common one is, I'm unworthy or I'm not good enough.
So, okay, I can relate to that, because imposter syndrome feeds those dysfunctional beliefs. What is, and please, everybody, jump in on this, man. Put your hand up. We want this is an interactive show. This isn't Wilson talking to everybody about it. This is an interactive give and take. But I think imposter syndrome feeding into dysfunctional beliefs, wouldn't you say that kind of opens up the door for a lot of other self-doubts that people have? And I'm not, again, man, on the outside, we have to, as leaders, we have to appear confident, right? We have to show that face. And fake it till you make it is an important mantra, or actually a widely held mantra in the car business. But I don't think it's necessarily healthy for you all the time. What do you think on that?
Is that question to me?
Yes, it is.
Why
are you so surprised? You're the guest host, dude. I mean,
I'm quite surprised. Sorry, not quite surprised. I'm opposed to the fake it till you make it in most situations, because you're not being authentic.
That's what I was talking about.
And authenticity, especially as a leader, is very, very important, because people will pick up whether you are being authentic or not. It's like, for example, if somebody asks you a question and you don't know the answer to that question, do you bluff them and give them a bluff, or do you fess up and say, well, look, I don't know the answer to that question, or I'm not sure about the answer to that question. Let me research it to get my facts straight first and then come back to you. So there's a respect issue there. And I think that faking it until you make it, if there's a customer or a client in front of you and you're employing those actions, it's not authentic, and people will know that generally. I don't think it's healthy, and I think it's something that we all need to be accountable for addressing. Where are my areas of opportunity? I don't talk in terms of, let's say, weaknesses. We all have areas where we're doing well, and we all have areas of opportunity where we can improve and do better. But it's a case of, accepting that we have these flaws and doing something about it. And for me, that's the quintessential description of accountability, knowing that something needs to be done and then taking action and doing it. The taking action is the responsibility part. And that applies to me as well as anybody else, because I'm not perfect. But we can use accountability to make ourselves better than what we are.
Well, you better be perfect. I just hired you. Right?
No,
that's a problem.
It's a challenge. It's not a problem.
This is buyer's remorse right now. Buyer's remorse right now. But okay, so all right, so the most important thing is, or actually not the most, but one of the most important things you can do is that self-reflection, right? And it's a perfect example. When somebody asks you a question as a leader and you bullshit your way through it, what are you gaining and what are you giving to your team if you bullshit your way through it?
You're speeding up your destination of failure.
Speeding up your destination of failure. That's strong. Yeah. And because if you're not sure that you gave the right answer, they might be doing the wrong thing, right? And who does that ultimately come back to? The guy who's faking it till he makes it.
Exactly. So one of the important leadership traits that I will pass on to any client is, as a leader, you've got to be prepared to be totally responsible for anything that happens within your team. But then, okay, I'm going to go to a slightly different route here. There are some leaders or people in general who follow a psychological process of outwardly blaming. I'm sure that we know people professionally and in our personal lives who outwardly blame for everything or anything that they don't want to be responsible for. The next step is that they will shame that situation or that person by name calling or whatever. And then the third step in that process is to justify their own actions by saying, I am the best thing since sliced bread. This exonerates me from any blame. And anybody who does that, particularly leaders, in my opinion, are living below the line. And that needs to be addressed. It's about accepting that I'm not perfect, accepting that maybe sometimes I'm not authentic, but what needs to happen in order for me to get to where I need to be a leader who can lead by cooperation and not by compliance. Because those leaders who are leading by compliance, in my opinion, once again, are ineffective leaders.
So by compliance, can you define that a little bit more?
By compliance means ruling by fear. You do it's my way or it's the highway. Now, going back into the 80s, into the military, you had a lot, especially in the British military, and I've seen also movies in the American, you had these very aggressive, shouting sergeants, corporals, commanders, and everything else. That's
Gunny. Gunny?
Gunny? Oh, are you talking about Full Metal Jacket?
Maybe.
Oh, okay. I was an extra in that movie, by the way.
Get the fuck out. Yeah, I've been an extra in my own life, so go ahead.
Yeah, and I found it totally unnecessary. So when I became a leader, that is not the behavior that I wanted to adopt. And don't forget, your subordinates are always looking at you. I believe, in order to be an effective leader, you've got to be good at being led in the first instance.
Daryl, I want to hear from you, and then we got Lamont, and a bunch of you all better be raising your goddamn hands. Excuse my French on a Sunday. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning, guys. I think one of the main traits for being a good leader, unwavering courage. You got to operate fearless. You got to have a sense of no fear in you. Whenever you operate, and you got to think about bringing value to people. And it's certain things that like for me, like you guys might think this is crazy, but for me, public speaking, I used to fear. And how would I impact people if I was afraid to speak in front of people? So it's something you got to get over. Whenever you in a sense of fear, you got to understand, look, what can I do, or am I limiting myself from impacting people? And you got to be able to operate even when in fear, So I think that goes into making decisions. It goes to everything in life, I think that we just got to operate fearless. I'm not saying doing crazy things, but whenever in fear, you just got to get out there and do it, man, because if you don't, you'll live life in regret.
I like it. I like it a lot. Wilson, what do you got on that?
What Daryl is talking about is something that's very sort of like close to me, because courage, what is courage? For me, courage is a mental attribute that is only available when we are in positions where we may be experiencing uncertainty, where we may be experiencing fear in some way. So courage is only available to be used when we're in those kind of situations. And I should imagine that in positions that you're all in, or your own managers are in, one of the most common situations where somebody would need courage is when they have to dismiss someone. I mean, I don't know. I may be right. I may be wrong.
No,
So
you're right. You're right.
Yeah, it should be seen as a mental attribute that enables and empowers a person to continue operating in the face of some kind of scary moment, something that they don't want to do. And it goes into these mental attributes that make up grit, drive, and mental acuity. And that's a whole different topic, because if you are bringing a manager on board, how do you test for those mental attributes? How do you know how that person is going to behave when there could be a negative outcome? So we talk about fear of failure. What is fear of failure? It's not that people fear failure, they fear being judged. And if you go further back into that, and this is something that I believe a lot of leaders suffer from, or they believe they suffer from, fear of failure is only a resistance to what they perceive to be a negative outcome of something that they want to do or that they want to have. So that's when we need to apply our courage circuit and work through it. And the more we do it as leaders, the stronger we get. The stronger we get, the more effective and efficient we become as leaders. These are behaviors that our subordinates see us, and that empowers them to do better and also to follow us by cooperation.
So would you say that when you need it, because bringing up termination, anytime you're terminating someone, typically I don't have much of an issue with that when it comes time to do it. But I typically drag my feet on it because I feel that I've not prepared that person enough. And I know I have, but I always second guess myself on that. And then, but once it's time to go, bam, done. I mean, no worries. But I always feel like I drag my feet a little bit, but I think that's part of the self-doubt that you're talking about, right?
Yeah, and I think that what leaders can do is they can turn that situation around, because people, I would imagine, they feel pressure. You're going to kick somebody out of the business. They may have dependents. Where are they going to be getting the money from? But our job really is to protect the interests of our business. That's what I say. And if somebody there is a liability, then some form of action needs to be taken. So this is where I believe something that I call the accountability wheel. And it's a tool that any leader can use that takes all of that hard work, all of that, beating yourself up about, I'm going to fire this person, by just taking some very, very simple steps. By, first of all, flagging up to that person what you have observed. So, for example, let's just take a very easy and common situation that somebody is consistently late. So, in my opinion, a good thing to do there is just to pull that person in, make it, less formal. Look, I've noticed on several occasions that you are being late. I just want you to know that I've seen this happening, right? It's not a problem yet, but I would like to see an improvement in your punctuality. And then you observe. If it still continues, then you invite them to have a conversation with you as to why this is happening and exploring maybe the potential of helping that person to get over that. If that doesn't happen, then after another period of observation, you tell them, well, if it doesn't improve, we're going to go to the next stage, which is going to be action to part companies, because I will have done enough work on this to try and help you. And if you're not going to respond to that help, then I'm afraid we have to part company. So the onus, the accountability, there's that accountability word again, is therefore placed firmly in their court.
Well, isn't it strange that as leaders we often assume the accountability for someone else, yet we have a hard time dealing with our own?
Accountability is this
crazy
ugly word, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we're always actually, as leaders, I take that back. As leaders, we're oftenly over accountable, right? We put too much emphasis on that because we assume that accountability of our own. Lamont, please go ahead. I'm interested in what you have to say. And guys, get in on this. I want to hear from guys. You know what, AJ, let's go, baby. You have a lot to give on this, and so does Russell Hill. Russell, you're going to need to talk today. Go ahead, Lamont.
Good morning, SDL. I absolutely love this topic because I feel there's a lack of good leadership out there, and we all know Vince Lombardi, I believe, who said becoming a great leader. Leaders are not born; they are made, and becoming a great leader requires an investment, in itself.
Lamont.
Yeah.
Vince Lombardi was an asshat.
That doesn't make what he said any less true.
All right. I'm just saying because he was Papa Packer, so fuck that guy. But anyways, go ahead.
Absolutely. But again, I believe it's an investment in self. It's learning how to lead. Just because you have a title doesn't make you a leader. And I've seen that quite a few times. Guys becoming managers. No, I'm the manager, but they just ruined the place for the lack of understanding, the lack of how to lead people, how to connect. And I think another thing is the worst thing you can do is compare yourself to other leaders. I've seen great leaders, and there were times where I'm like, how the hell and where the hell did he get that? Well, some of it is baptized by fire, living life, experience. So don't compare yourself. Be authentic in your leadership. Invest in yourself and learn how to lead, because great leaders, they build people, they make people, they give back, they contribute. It's not take. It's give, to put deposits in the bank, so to speak. So when it's time to withdraw, the funds will be there. And that's my 2 cents on leadership.
Titles do not make a leader. And that's where now you just went to the extremes, right? Because I talked about leaders that were overly accountable for everything, right? That leaders that they jump in on, they assume they're failing employees accountability, even though that leader has offered up countless opportunities for improvement, written plans, everything else, but that leader still assumes I'm accountable for that person. I'm accountable. And then you go to the other extreme, Lamont, where they say, where you say, hey, I'm the boss, applesauce. This is how it's going to go. And they have no accountability for anything. And they fuck the world up and they set it on fire. And most of the time, those guys walk away after 6 months going, all right, where's the next store I'm going to burn up, right? Yeah. I mean, it's
100%.
Yeah. Lamont, Wilson, please.
Yeah, Joe, this is also going off on a slight tangent. I think that we really need to examine our own personal identity, because if you ask someone, who are you? they're likely to respond with their name. And the way that I view that is that's not who you are. That's the name that you were given by your parents, you know, when you were christened and you had your bottom slapped by some priest or something like that. So the next question, who are you? And they're likely to respond with a job title, but that's not who that person is. That's what they are at work. And I noticed that somebody had posted a comment to say that they had they'd lost a GM because he was all about his job title. And your identity is actually your power base. It's how you feed your mind. It's how you treat people. It's how you treat not just people in general. It's how you treat your subordinates, your colleagues, your family, your friends, strangers. How you treat your role. So for me, that's all part of it. And what Lamont is saying is that, you know, we excuse me, leadership is crafted. And it's crafted over time. And I do believe that the core essence of a leader is in the personality traits and the behaviors which we develop as we are going through our careers. That's all.
That was a lot. Leadership is crafted over time. Vernon Davis.
Again, good morning, team. I learned a lot about you, Mr. Wilson, Mr. Lawrence this morning, and I too am a veteran. I'm fourth generation, but I had to change my leadership style because I came up in the military in the 80s. And when, you know, coming out of the military into corporate America, it was here's what I need done. Do this. No, what do you mean? What do you mean questions? There's no questions. This is what I need you to go do because this is the style that I was trained to. And I say that because a number of our leaders today in our shops, in our businesses, they have that same mentality. And we have to be able to evolve. And our leadership styles have to evolve. I lead teams now, but I have no title. So I tell people I lead from the middle. But as someone who has learned from my mistakes, I had to stop and read and listen and learn and change my leadership style to handle the people today. Because I'm sorry, a lot of our people that we have today, they're not, let's just say, if we would try to lead them the way we were led when we first came into the business, we can't do it because they're soft, they're moist. They're like, like a box pound cake. You know, you add a couple of eggs, but if you add one too many, you can't choke. Back in the day, we get smacked upside the head or choked out. Now we have to choke them. We can still choke them, but we have to use a velvet. We got to put on a velvet glove and squeeze slowly. But my point is that we do have to adjust our leadership styles in order to be the leader that our people need today. You can still be firm. You can still be firm and you can still be assertive, but it's not what you say. A lot of times it's how you say it. And I think that's what a lot of us miss. Again, yes, titles. I work with, everything from technicians to DPs every day. But people go, so what do you do? Hey, man, you know what? My title, you can call me janitor because I'm just here to clean up stuff. But how I lead is, one, I lead by example, and two, I lead by taking the time to understand who is in front of me and who is on my team and what motivates them to move in the direction that I need them to move. Some move because of appreciation, some move because of money, some move because they just don't want to see themselves fail. But we as leaders must learn to be able to be one thing. Well, two things. One, we got to be vulnerable. Two, we got to be willing to listen, because if we listen to our people, they will tell us how they want to be led. People will teach you how to treat them. So that's my 2 cents.
So
I
Vernon,
take that
aside from getting several people aroused with your conversation here about choking and velvet and moist and all of that stuff, the vulnerability factor Wilson, what are your thoughts on that? And how should is there room in leadership for vulnerability?
Okay, so first of all, from one British veteran to an American vet. Thank you very much for your service and your support. And if you were in Germany,
we fucking bailed your ass out of 2 wars.
Oh my God! Yeah, okay, just shut that guy up. You know, whatever it is. You know, so thank you very much for that, and it's an honor to. It's an honor to have the American forces working with us occasionally. Okay, vulnerability. In the military theatre of life, I don't believe that vulnerability is a good thing. And I believe also that in the civilian theatre of life, when you are a leader, you have to be very careful about being vulnerable, because too much vulnerability is a breeding space for, I've forgotten the word. It's coming, begins with a C, not contempt. What's the word? It makes it difficult for you then to discipline, to put your disciplinary hat on and start cracking the whip as a leader.
Lawrence, hold on. I say it's vulnerable. I did not say be naked. There's a difference. I mean, we do have to open the door to being vulnerable, but I'm not saying being, I'm not saying, okay, like we used to say in the military, if you are a leader, you cannot fraternize with the enlisted.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because what it does is it does create that environment to when you do have to discipline or lead or change or do whatever, then they're like, hey, come on, man, I thought we was buddies. But like I said, there's a difference. So I just wanted to make sure I cleared that up right there.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I'm with you on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Vernon, because you got to have that separation, right? And the vulnerability has got to be, somebody just said vulnerability creates transparency. I think that's correct. But you do have to have a definitive border, like between Canada and the States.
But let me say this though, Joe. But at the same time, just like when I came into your shop, what did I tell you about how to find someone to lead your team in your shop? To stand back and watch. True leaders will show themselves. Good cream always rises to the top. You don't have to ask about it. You don't have to worry about it. If you just stand back and just watch for 15 minutes, you will see who the leaders are in your midst.
I agree.
That backs up what I was saying earlier on, that people are always watching their leaders, but also leaders from above are watching the behaviors and the traits of people who are rising up. So watching cream rise to the top, these are the people who really should be promoted to leadership positions.
Robert Sebastian, let's roll forward. Look at this, Wilson. We've got a line of people that want to talk here. Let's go.
Hey, y'all. Great event today. Thank you so much, Mr. Lawrence. Hey, so Joe, you said that you want immediate impact. You want to take takeaways, right?
Yes, absolutely. So, 100%. Give these folks something they can take on Monday morning and roll forward.
So Monday morning, do a survey, send out an email. No, don't do an email. Do a letter, a little simple survey. Give it to each of your employees and say, I need you to give this back by the end of the day. And 2 questions. Do you feel like you belong here? Like this is home for you? And do you feel that I care for you and I take care of your needs? And then go to work. And I'm going to give you an acronym. The acronym is TIME. Good leaders spend time, and I break down time into totally involved manager engagement. We want engaged employees, right? If you want engaged employees, you got to have engaged managers, leaders. And I'm not against the word manager. Some people say, wow, manager versus leader. No, you got to be a good manager and a good leader at the same time. So a totally involved manager is going to take care of the career path, the mental well-being, accountability of the daily performance. So if you're lagging, and then inspire awesome behavior with how you model your awesome behavior. You take care of teaching curriculum or making sure there is curriculum. And by the way, on the vulnerability thing, there is a measured thing. So I love the conversation there. So it's got to be measured, right? But it's quite all right to tell your team members, look, man, some days I'm going to be down and I'm going to need you to lift me up. And the way it works out, the universe takes care of it most of the time for me. When I feel like crap, I can have a team member say, hey, boss, I see you're, moping or whatever. You're kind of down. Here, have some of my peanuts. But they're not thinking that we're buddies all of a sudden. The relationship is healthy. They know I care. But there's the thing. Hey, do you feel like you belong? Do you feel like this is home? And if not, then you got to go to work to make sure every team member feels like this is home for them. And of course, the best team members, they're like a Labrador. They are the challenge team members. They are the ones that are put to work. They are held to high performance standards. Those that are not held to high performance standards, you just care for them. That's fake caring. When you don't hold a team member to high performance standards, that's not caring. That's hating that team member. You're destroying their life and your own. So anyways, going back to time, totally involved manager engagement. You want engaged employees, make sure that they feel they belong to the team by the way you care for them and by the way you're engaged with them.
I mentioned it in the comments, but I would have never have guessed you would turn that into an acronym. Great job, though. I appreciate it. It's a good one. So I appreciate that. Mr. Charbonneau, are you wearing a raccoon? Is that a beaver? What's that on your head, man?
It's a Turkish sheep herder's hat.
That was my next guess, actually.
I spent some time in the Mediterranean and I've kind of collected a few hats and stuff. So
hey, man, I'm digging it. Go, man.
And if I take my hat off, you can see,
Yeah, put it back on, Robert. Thank you.
Hey, I'm happy to have hair at 75 years old.
Agreed, dude. Agreed. Way to go, man. Way to go. Look at Vernon. Vernon's like, fuck, hey, man.
What I want to talk about a little bit is, being a leader in fixed operations is like anything. You have to know what you're doing. And a lot of us are get promoted. We did a good job at where we were, and then we got promoted. I was at 20 years old, I was a technician, and then I was a service manager when I was 23. And then when I was 24 years old, I was managing a whole auto center. And then a year after that, I was managing 64 auto centers. So I'm telling you, I didn't know what I was doing half of the time. But the one thing that somebody told me that always works, is you're only as good as the people that work for you, and only as good as what they produce. So over the years, I experimented a lot of ways, because I did 4 turnarounds, and those were tough because you go in and you're there because it's horrible. It's not making any money. I went into a store where almost all the guys had over 20 years to 30 years, and I was 24 years old. You think they wanted to listen to me? And luckily with mentors and stuff, I talked to this guy that had been an auto center manager, and I go, man, I know, and at that point he was a general manager. And I go, hey, how did you do it? How do you, when you go into a place like that? He goes, well, you're not going to do anything without those people. So you got to win those people over, some way or other. And so I was just watching stuff because I didn't know what the hell was going on. A guy would come in every day and he would measure me. And I'm going, okay, this was a bad area in California, Vallejo, back in the 70s. That was the drug capital. So I think he was, I know what he was trying to do, is intimidating me. And, and it kind of worked a little bit, but after about a week and a half, I go, I got to do something. I haven't done anything other than watch people, and had a pretty good idea, because before that, the only thing that made me successful is I would sell a lot of stuff, get guys to do it, and it'd be great. Well, the situation is turned now. I have a lot of other responsibilities, so I can't be out there selling everything. I need people to do that, and I need people to do the work. So he said, well, why do you think those people are unhappy like that? But why do you think that? I go, I don't know. He goes, why don't you ask him? I go, okay. So I had my meeting, and the first thing I told was, I go, okay, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but what I do know is we're at the bottom of the pack, you know, and this place has been considered on the chopping block to close up, you know, because of all the crime and everything in this area, and not making any money. I said, so, you know, I don't think any of you really want that to happen. I said, and if you can help me make us successful, you know, then you won't get some asshole that's going to shut this place down when I don't succeed. And, you know, and I kind of turned it a little bit. And that, so I brought all the guys in, and that, granted, it wasn't, you know, 150 guys. It was like 22 people in the shop, you know, and in the front that were selling the service advisors and stuff. And one by one, I told them, what do you think? Why is this? And they go, and almost all of them said, we're like the redheaded stepchild. You know, we don't get anything out here. You know, and I said, well, you know, it's probably because we're not doing much out here. I said, so what is it going to take? And they said, well, they have contests all the time. And I said, well, do you guys want a contest? They go, yeah. I go, what do you want to win? And so they go, okay, let's talk about that. So the next day they go, okay, we want a fishing trip. We want to charter a boat out into the bay, you know, with all of us, and, you know, and go out and just have a great day, you know, because we did good. So I talked to the guy that I worked for, and he said, sure, I'll do that. He goes, I said, what it'll take? He goes, well, I need you to make 10% more so you make $1. And if you make $1 profit on that month, then that's what we'll do. So we did, and it changed that whole culture of those guys wanting to be successful, you know. And but the problem is, every place you go is a little bit different. You know, I've gone into places that were running really well, so you got to really look and see what. Don't screw it up.
Well,
don't go in, just make changes that you made in the past so they were good. Analyze what's going on, because when you go into a store and you're trying to help it, you have to understand what's going on.
I love the fact that
Traffic, too much traffic, and not the people to do it. You know, is the facility of limiting people? And then ask people, what's holding you back? You know, if your contribution, can you do more? Do you have more?
And Robert, I mean, I like a couple of things you did there. I mean, first of all, you swore. That was kind of nice. You said asshole.
Rare.
But I dig it. But I mean, you had honesty with your core crew in there, and I think as a leader, and Wilson, let me know if this is accurate. But I think you definitely need to be honest with your crew, right? I mean, you have to have, it's that transparency. You got to have it, right, Wilson?
Yeah, I mean, I really believe in honesty, integrity, and transparency. You know, because when what people are echoing here is really, it's the behaviors that people see as displayed that inspire them or motivate them to follow us as a leader. You know, and I think that what was his name, Robert, with the hunter's hat on?
Yeah, that's Robert. Yep.
Yeah, but you know, he's kind of like come up through the ranks. Vernon as well. I mean, he's had to change his management style from military, you know, to civilian. I've had to do that as well, and probably people here within the whole meeting will relate to that. But the only way is honesty, integrity, transparency. And also I'll factor in a little bit of vulnerability as well.
All right. Thank you, Wilson. Corey, we're gonna get to Corey, Charles, Wendy, Corey, Zach. We've got a lot of people lined up. I love it. This is fantastic. Let's roll, because you know what? Let's roll because leadership's important, but let's remember the focus here. You can't lead anybody until you're leading yourself properly. Correct, Wilson?
True. Yeah.
Right.
So self-leadership is vital. From the, you know, little things like getting out of your bed on the time and not snoozing like so many people love to do. Isn't that right, Miss? No, I'm not going to.
No, don't call anybody out. Now, come on now. All right. Hey, Corey, go ahead, man.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Good morning,
I
Corey.
love.
How you doing, Corey? How you doing, by the way?
I'm doing good. It's been a
Good.
busy year. Did my last travel last week, so I don't do any more
Awesome.
travel until 2024. So I'm excited about
Fantastic.
that.
Good for you, buddy.
I love this topic because being a leader, you don't have to have the title in order to be a leader, right? So this topic really gets all of our juices flowing with questions. So my main question for Wilson is, in a professional environment, how can one effectively manage their relationship with a leader who exhibits strong narcissistic traits while ensuring that a personal well-being and maintaining a workplace harmony? How do you deal with that, Wilson? How do you deal with that person?
So the question is, how do you deal with a narcissistic leader?
Yeah.
I think Steve Kill's on this call. No, anyways, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, so narcissism, pejorative term, everybody. As soon as you hear the term narcissism or narcissist, everybody automatically goes on the negative. And I say that you have to really gauge what level of narcissism or what kind of narcissism that person is exhibiting. A narcissist, for me, is a person who is bringing that conversation back to them, okay, more than 80% of the time, if you can gauge it like that. So you're talking about narcissism in the respect of personality disorder narcissism. That's those people who's all about me. And people who are all about me are going to be using personal pronouns a lot. I, me, mine. That's an indication. And you can't fight against these people because they will always run rings around you. So what's one of the main reasons why people leave a position? Because of poor and ineffective leadership and or management. And when you look at it, it's likely that that leader is going to have personality narcissistic disorder. But on the other side of narcissism, and I just want to clear this up with everybody, is that we all need an element of narcissism in order to be seen and heard, but it's how we apply it. If I was in a position, and I have been in a position where I had a manager who was a narcissist on the personality disorder side, it was really like butting your head against a wall. And the only power that you have against those that behavior is either to focus on what you have total control over and let go, because you can't control what anybody's thinking. You can't control what anybody is doing. You can only focus on the reality of your moment, and that gives you your own power. I hope that answers your question, Corey.
Yeah, it does. So to deal with that person, what is a good tip that you can do to deal with that person on a daily basis?
Just agree with that person. Don't take things personally, because try putting yourself in that person's shoes when they wake up in the morning. Imagine what the world is like through their eyes. And don't forget, 5 sensory data, all of the data that we're gathering on a daily basis that's going through the conscious mind, through our senses. For them, it must be an absolute nightmare. So you, not being the narcissist, are actually in the stronger position. But all they're doing is they're acting out their frustrations and making life difficult for other people. So what do you have control over? So this is what I call amor fati. It's a Stoic principle by accepting everything, but then only focusing on what you have absolute control over. Because as soon as you allow someone to change your mental emotional state in a negative way, what you've actually succeeded in doing is making them your master, and you become their slave emotionally.
I love that. All right.
Yeah, and Corey, if you're talking about Eric, it's okay. No, I'm kidding. I'm absolutely kidding. Charles Cannon, let's hear from you.
All right, everyone, good morning. A lot of great information. I wanted to address, I was going through some of the chats in there. Marshall had a thing about open door policy. I want to give from my perspective how I do that. Whenever we have a teammate start with us, one of the first things I make sure I go around and introduce them. I give them my cell phone number. I always tell them, hey, you can call me, you can text me, I'll come to you. Whenever you have an issue, then also I make myself available by constantly making sure I'm walking around and all the teammates in my store and all departments see me, every day when I'm there.
Hey Charles,
And
Charles, give us a little bit. We don't know you as well as some, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but
Yeah.
how big is your store, and how many folks you got? Because I mean, you're a
I
general
have
manager, and be honest with you, we don't have any GMs on the show, so this is fantastic. We love it.
okay. So yeah, I'm at a Lexus store. It's a 4-story building.
Fucking
It's
A.
yeah,
4-story
and
building.
yeah, 4 stories. First floor is sales, second floor is service, and then third and fourth floor is parking for vehicles and service vehicles, what have you. So I make it a point every morning, when I'm there, is go through it, all the departments, say hi to everyone, and just talk to people how they're doing with life and everything else. And then I
Awesome.
always tell them I have, and my door in my office is literally always open unless I have an important conversation going on that I have to close the door, with a Zoom call or something with a teammate, what have you. And so I make that a point, and then when people come in, I always tell people, hey, because I know there's some people who still, despite that, I've been told, hey, they don't want to come see you because because their previous relationships with GMs, that they don't want to be approached and all that. I said, look, man, I have the title GM, but I'm just a normal person. I'm a human being, and if I don't know what's going on, I can't help you. So I tell them all the time, you have to come to me and give me an opportunity to help solve whatever issues that you're having. Or if you just want to talk about something. And I have techs come to me, I have porters come to me, people all the time, and we sit down and talk, so I can help identify that, whatever the issues are. Another topic that was brought up earlier is the bullshit. I'm having a little manager go right now because of that, because he has a perception of that, and unfortunately it's permeated to the point to where he can't do his role properly because people don't respect him. And even though he's a talented person, it's one thing that's holding him back. So therefore, it's holding my department back. So in a way, I do feel like I've failed him, but at the same time, I've given him up-team opportunities to get better, because I've called him out on it, and I've told him, hey, other people identify this issue with you. You say, oh, yeah, I'll get better, but he hasn't. So I've had to make that decision. I've had to let other people go, for whenever I have to turn someone. I feel bad at a certain level, even though it's 100% their fault. A lot of times, I had somebody that forged a document. Okay, that was immediate cause for termination. But at the same time, I thought, man, did I create an environment where he thought that was okay to do? And then I thought, no, because nobody else has done it. And so, those are things I always think about. Then also think about their families. Man, this person can be without a job.
What a great self-assessment that was. Did I create this environment? No, nobody else has done it. This guy did it. That's fantastic.
Yeah, but that's what you have to look at it that way. Did I do something wrong? Did I identify something? Stuff like that. Another one I brought up earlier about imposter syndrome. I do agree with that, but at the same time, it's okay to believe something even if it's not there yet. And what I mean by that is, if I'm working with a salesperson and they're selling 10 cars a month, but their goal is to get to 20, I said, you have to act like you're selling 20 cars. What does a 20 car person act like? You have somebody here on the floor selling 20. What are they doing that you're not? So you're emulating that person. And then I said, if you believe it's going to happen, then it will happen. So I think that's kind of the things that I want to tell people. It's okay to have that belief, even if it's not there yet. And I don't think that's necessarily imposter syndrome. So I just want to make sure that that's, that was brought up and discussed. But, all these other things have been very good about what's been brought up. So
no, Charles, I mean, seriously, I appreciate it so much. I love having the variable side, or the complete side represented there. I shouldn't say just variable, because you're not. It's crucial that leaders can't get to your level until they realize, hey, I'm going to break some eggs, but I'm going to make a killer omelet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they can't feel bad about throwing those eggshells down the garbage disposal or whatever. They have to make sure that they're capable of doing it. They feel comfortable in their own shoes to do it. but most of us on this call, most of the people on this call have a hard time getting to that level. So congratulations for getting there. But I bet you still got some doubts, right?
Oh, all the time, man.
Every day, right?
I learn something every day, and I tell the team I don't have all the answers, and I'll be quick to tell them I don't know, but let's find out together. And I tell them that all the time.
I love it. Hey, Wendy, you had your hand up for a long time and then you dropped it, and I'm going to skip in line and I'm putting you on the spot. Let's go, Wendy. Wendy left. All right, Corey, go ahead, man.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
You got it.
I basically just wanted to put my 2 cents in as something that I experienced on the other side. One big thing of leadership that I've always followed is, I think, what really creates a great leader, and a lot of you guys have had some good things that do create good leaders, is, to me, is the willingness to teach and share your knowledge with everybody else. Great leaders create other great leaders. You've got a lot of leadership out there where it's do it my way or the highway. There's no teaching involved. There's no, there's that fear of being the leader that you may create something better than you and they may usurp. And I really don't believe in that. So the one thing that I just kind of wanted to bring to the table is the willingness to teach everybody around you everything that you know, bring them along with you. And like I said, good leaders create great other good leaders.
I love that, because so often people are afraid of training their replacements, right?
Correct.
And you can't be. You have to stop, realize that your replacements are the people who are going to get you to the next level anyways. So what the hell are you thinking? Right?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, for example, if you're teaching, what happens, a good way to measure yourself. What happens when you're away? How does your team function? Right. Because everybody's heard the whole phrase of when the cat's away, the mice will play, right? Does that happen in our stores? Does the mice play, or do the mice do what they're supposed to do because they're afraid that the cat, or they have respect for the cat, and they know just because the cat is away, the day doesn't change.
Yeah, no, I get it. And especially at Ryan's store, where they definitely have respect for the the cat. Wendy, go ahead, Wendy.
First of all, Joe, you're a trip. Anyway, so
at least I can retain my employees.
You got it, man. I can't, clearly. Go ahead.
No, the reason that I put my hand down is because there's so many other people that have things they want to share.
But Wendy, I want to hear from you, because you put some great stuff in there, and you offer a view from experience and from a side of the business that we don't get enough of, and that's the BDC.
Okay, so the first thing that hit me, Lawrence, was authenticity. I feel like the reason I broke you, and then when you said in order to be a good leader, you have to be good at being led, or you have to be able to be led. Man, I was led for under pretty much the same person on and off at the same store for like close to 30 years. And I loved what I did and the creativity I was allowed, but what I didn't like ultimately was it might have been a little something that was not presented as my idea, although it had been. And what happens is when you get to a certain place in the corporate structure, those above you, like it or not, do start to wonder, like they almost to the point where they want to start a smear campaign of sorts, especially if like you walked into the dealership working for the grandpa when you had just gotten out of college with the second generation, who's now third generation son is running the stores. So it's just human nature. Same as with when the cat's away, are the mice going to play? Heck yeah, they are on my team, but I'm going to catch their butts too because I'm watching from the corner.
That's crucial. Yeah, good.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Being authentic, you have to share your skills. But what I've had to learn along the way, guys, is to go from being a hard-ass trainer because I thought everyone had the same drive. Some people just want to get paid. I don't care what hat you wear in the store or any business. So it's very difficult to find people with the same work ethic. However, you can train the same practices and processes and govern them very, very carefully and you can change a person's mindset and actually create growth so that it's not a right mindset versus wrong, but it's an educated mindset, right? Like we tell our customers. But I think that so the human side, you guys see me on Clubhouse all the time, the human side of AI. For me, it's all about the human side. It's all about perspectives. It's all about mindsets. It's all about empathy for one another and people helping people. So that said, I initially went, well, you know what? This is what I want and you better do it. And then I started getting a little nicer because I made a couple people cry. And I'm like, and I still, to this day, I don't mean to do it, you guys, but I make these BDMs cry when they bring me in for a discovery visit and I tell them what's up in their department. I swear to God. So it's become a thing with my dealers that they usually tell them day one, hey, look, automotive, you got to have a thick skin. So the whole point is we want to do all this. We want to demand, let me cut quick to the finish. For me, for 2024, I need to demand the performance. I still offer the same human side, but you got to have the skills. But if you don't perform and I love you dearly, you're out. And I've warned them all already. So that's all I got, Joe.
And Mama Shark has spoken. Zach Perkle, go ahead.
Hey, I don't really have a ton of words of wisdom on this, but I know if I didn't chime in, Joe would beat my ass. So
fucking yeah, I would. Let's go.
When I started, I obviously went from wrenching to being a manager over the weekend, and I was more old school, kind of like what Corey was saying, my way or the highway, type of person. That's how I was raised, kind of an old soul that way. But I've had no choice but to change and grow and learn that, this guy, I need to massage his ego a little bit. That guy I need to yell at. He responds to that. That person needs me to affirm them at least once a week or they're losing their minds. So that's one thing that I've had to figure out and grow to be a better leader, which my GM's been an amazing mentor to me to get to that place. And it's afforded me some other opportunities because I didn't refuse to grow and was stuck in my ways. I did change and tried to be different. And, it's afforded me Kia and some other stuff that's going on. So even though every day when stuff happens, I may fight can they picture the Ben Affleck meme of him just dragging a cigarette, completely bewildered of what the hell's going on in front of him? There's times where you feel like that. You're like, are you fucking kidding me? But it's what we signed up for. And it's just the way you attack the problem,
I dig it, man. And everybody, thank you, Zach. I appreciate you, dude, and what you've done in your stores. You are a fucking awesome leader, and you sell yourself short, and that's the reason I want to hear from you. Wilson, close us out. We are, I'm sorry, everybody, we are 6 minutes past time. I try to be respectful of that, but Wilson talks a lot.
Thank you very much. Pot calling the kettle black there, I think.
I didn't call anybody black, all right? I'm just saying.
Well, I'm probably the least politically correct person that came out of Britain anyway. Okay, so thank you, everybody. For me, this was a total blast, and it's an honor to be here with SDL today. It's the first time I've done something like this, co-hosting. So I don't mind, employing honesty, integrity, and transparency. Yeah, my boss was twitching a little bit at the beginning, but we got through it. This is a great topic which cannot be covered in just 1 hour and a few minutes. I think it's a continuous topic, and certainly, in SDL meetings on Sundays, I think it's a really good thing to drive the leadership topic, especially from the point of self-leadership, which then creates that radiant value that passes through you and goes into other people. I've picked some things up as well, some insights into people, and for everybody who's contributed and made it comfortable for me, Thank you very much, and I appreciate y'all.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate y'all. And fuck the Cowboys. All right, next. Goodbye.